Hey pals, today I have a little story for you all about mine and Adam's experience with universal credit. If you've been watching my vlogs recently, you'll know this has been an ongoing saga of drama, so I just wanted to make a video that kind of talks about everything that's happened in one place so that you can take some advice from it, take some words of wisdom, learn from our mistakes. So a couple of days after my last day of work in my old job in Newcastle, I phoned up Universal Credit to ask for some advice. I knew that I was moving in with Adam in Glasgow, which is an area that doesn't yet have Universal Credit. They're still on the old benefit system. Universal Credit hasn't been rolled out everywhere yet. So I asked them, should I wait until I move in with him to apply, or should I just do it now? And they advised me to get my application in, and then once I've moved, to change all of my details then. That was the first bit of bad advice I got. So I made my application, everything was hunky-dory, pretty lengthy process, but it was fine. And it said that I would have to wait 5 weeks until I got my first payment. And I thought that was fine. I thought that I would have a job within 5 weeks, so this was just like a backup just in case I didn't manage to find anything. Part of the process was an online verification check to check that I was who I say I am, which makes sense, but because I've lived in so many addresses over like a short period of time, the online check wouldn't work for me, so I had to go in and prove that I was a person in person, which was absolutely fine. So I went down to the job centre, explained my unique situation to the person I had an appointment with, who was very confused by it all, and then kind of set the process rolling. Once I moved up to Glasgow and I'd signed all the contracts and everything to say that I was living here, I then changed my details on my Universal Credit, and doing this wiped everything that I'd already put in. It basically made it so that I had to apply again. It just wiped all of the information I'd given them, and it wanted me to give all the information again. So that was kind of annoying, but you know, I was like, that's fine, I will do that. I put all my information in again. It also wanted all of Adam's information, so we had to make a separate account for him and put all his information in as well. Even though he worked full time and didn't need any money, it was me that needed the money. Because we live together, now they're kind of dealing with us as one person rather than two separate people. Then I got a message from a work coach who is meant to be like your point of contact and the person that you will deal with, who was in Newcastle. And he made an appointment for me in Newcastle. So I had to explain to him that firstly I'd already had my initial interview and proof that I was who I say I am, and I no longer live in Newcastle. We also got a message saying that Adam needed to make an appointment. Even though his online verification check had worked and proved that he's a human, he still needed to go in to hand over some documents and get something from them. Job centres are only open 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, which is when Adam works, so he would have had to take time off work to go to the job centre when he doesn't need a job. He has one already. So with a lot of toing and froing, I managed to get an appointment at a job centre in Glasgow. I'm not commuting to go to a job centre in Newcastle unless they're paying for my trains. And Adam decided that he would just cut his losses and make an appointment, even though he would have to take time off work to do so. But he tried to phone to make an appointment. He was phoning for a week every day, before work, after work, and on his lunch break, and he couldn't get through because the waiting time is so long and their hold music is very annoying. So I phoned up and said, can I do all the documents for him? Can I bring everything for him, because I have loads of time on my hands? And they said he needed to get an identity number from them, so I said, can I take it for him, or can you post it? Can something be done that means he won't have to come to an appointment? Again, after much toing and froing, they then told me that this number could have been posted originally, which would have saved us all of this drama. So I had my second appointment. I took all of the documents that we needed, all of the evidence of our savings, all of the proof that we lived here, like all of the paperwork. I took it all with me and said, here is all my stuff. And the work coach that I have in Glasgow didn't know anything about Universal Credit because it isn't a Universal Credit area, didn't know about this identity number that Adam needed, didn't know about the online system for communicating with work coaches, which is called a journal. It's basically like a message board. And she didn't know that she needed all of this paperwork that I brought her, so I gave her the paperwork and said, please photocopy it, please, you have it, just so that you have got it, and I have handed it in to someone. It was around this time that people on the phone, and my Glasgow work coach started saying that it's very unlikely that I'd actually be eligible for universal credit because Adam works and because our savings were over a threshold. I was very annoyed that I hadn't been told this from the start, otherwise I wouldn't have bothered applying. But as we were only over this threshold by about £100, and this is for our savings accounts combined, so my savings weren't that much, Adam's savings weren't that much, but together it was over this threshold by about £100. We thought we'll just wait and see, maybe they'll judge it on a case-by-case basis and actually decide that we are eligible. So we stayed in the process, we kept doing everything they told us to do. So I'd given them all the information they'd asked for, and I still had no answer. So I phoned up a couple times to find out what the progress of this is and whether we are eligible or not, only to be told that they haven't received the documents that I gave them. I got in touch with my work coach in Glasgow and said, did you send those documents that I gave you? And she said she absolutely did. And I found out who she sent them to, and I phoned them again and say, yes, they have been sent to you. This is the person they've been sent to. Please find them and tell us whether we are eligible or not. And then a couple of days later, no phone call, no message on my journal. I get 2 letters which have been uploaded to my journal saying that I'm not eligible. The first letter saying it's because our savings are over the threshold, and the second letter saying I'm not eligible because Adam is working. Both of which could have been established right at the beginning of this process, and I wouldn't have had to waste hours and hours and hours of my time on hold with them, talking on the phone to them, chasing them up, doing their work for them. They could have just said that, don't bother applying. And rather than that 5-week waiting time that I was initially given, it's taken 10 weeks for them to get back to me to say that I'm not eligible. And before you say it, I know we're in a very privileged position, that I have savings to live off, that Adam has a job. I know that other people have it way, way worse off, absolutely know that. But I had a little semblance of faith in the system that I've been paying taxes to for my whole working life, that when I needed a bit of support, they would be there for me, and they were not. I'm not disputing their decision. That's fair enough that we weren't eligible. I'm just so annoyed and frustrated that they made us waste all my time to then be told what they could have told me at the start. I'm also annoyed about the savings threshold thing, because our savings are separate. We've only just started living together. We've been together 4 years. It's not that long. Our savings are separate for our separate things. So I think it's stupid that they are counted as one lot of savings. Also, throughout this whole process, I wasn't asked once by Universal Credit staff how my job hunt was going, if they could support me in any way with finding a job. The whole time I felt as if I was just being pushed through the system and hurried through, but not very quickly, very slowly hurried through. But it wasn't about me getting a job, it was just about me going through the system. My work coach in Glasgow did ask me how the job hunt is going. Didn't have very much practical advice for me. I sent my CV over, she said that looks great, and it's like, well, I don't have a job though, do I? So my advice to you, if you are thinking of applying for universal credit, or if you are worried that you might end up in a situation like me where you're looking for work, is to not be sensible with your money. Don't save any money while you are working. You want to have nothing, and then they will help you. Also, don't live with a partner, because they will take into account their earnings. Some friends of ours who lived together, they were both looking for work at the same time, and although they did get some payments, I know they had an equally awful experience. When one of them got a part-time job, Universal Credit wanted to cut off all of their payments, as if this wage from one part-time job could support both of them. And just imagine if I was in an abusive relationship, God forbid, if I had no money and I was entirely dependent on Adam. If I wanted to get out of that relationship, this system would not allow that, because I wouldn't be eligible because Adam was working. I have written a formal complaint to them today, so I will update you in the vlogs if I hear back from that, and if anything happens. I have very little faith that anything will change. Adam's also writing a letter to our MP to explain the situation and to complain. Once again, I'm not complaining that we weren't eligible and that we didn't get any money from them. I'm complaining at how we were treated and how shocking the system is, that it doesn't support people and it doesn't work. I know there's been a lot in the news recently about universal credit and how shocking it is, and how it will mean that people who really, really need the money are getting less money overall, and that less people who do need money are being helped. this is just another story to add to that overall complaint about how shocking this system is. In the letters, it did say that I could apply to this other kind of benefit system, but to be honest, I'm not gonna bother. I have better things to do with my time, like trying to find a job and doing job applications and interview prep. And in my position, what I would like to do now is to never pay taxes again, because even though we pay taxes to help those that are less fortunate than us, of course, you're also paying taxes in the hope that if one day you needed that support, that it would be there for you, and it wasn't. So I'd really like to not pay taxes forever, but you know, can't do that because I'll be arrested. The whole system is fundamentally flawed. I don't know what we can do about it other than if you've also had an awful experience with universal credit or another benefit system, write to your MP and tell them. I'm sure there are petitions going around. I'll have a look and I'll put a couple in the description if you want to sign a petition. And I don't know, maybe just someone will realise how shocking this is for the individual people and do something about it. I'm sorry this has been so rambly and grumbly. I tried to make my setup pretty to kind of counteract that. And we're playing with natural light. The sunlight is coming in. Please let me know in the comments if you've had a similar experience or if you've had a really good experience. Let's just have a chat about it because it needs to be talked about. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.